Irish consumers who regularly snap up bargain buys online could soon find that cheap shopping is no longer quite so cheap. A new €3 customs charge on low-value parcels arriving from outside the EU is due to come into effect from the 1st of next month, adding an extra cost to millions of purchases from popular retailers in Britain, China and the US. Business representatives say the move can encourage more people to shop locally, while consumers, I'm sure there's many of you listening this morning accustomed to low-cost fashion, electronics and household goods, may see the overall cost of online bargains begin to rise, and maybe you're not too happy about that. Joining me to discuss this in studio, I'm joined by the CEO of Ennis Chamber, Margaret O'Brien, and we're also joined by Pat Clarke Browne, our tech expert with Munster Business in Shannon. And maybe, Pat, I'll get you to further outline what's happening with these EU customs rules and what impact you expect them to have, particularly on people in this county who like to get their few cheap bits online.
Well, basically what they're doing is they're getting rid of what's called the de minimis exemption, which is if your package was valued at under €150, there was no additional tax on it. So you're paying your VAT, but you're not paying anything beyond that. Now what they're bringing in is that it's a €3 charge per item in the package under €150 if they are different items. So say, for example, you ordered 10 different things, that would be an additional €30 charge to bring that package in. So 5 pens is €3. 5 different types of pen, if they're listed as a separate item on the invoice, that would be €3 per item. So it's not one charge per the package, it's per item in the package if they're different items. Okay. And I mean, that's going to bump up the price quite a bit. I was looking at I'm a bit of a Temu addict. So I was looking at my last couple of orders. I put an order in. The total for the order was €17. There was 10 different things. That would have been an additional €30 next month.
Wow. Okay. So that's a significant increase. So I'm sure local Indigenous businesses will be delighted with this, but online shoppers going to be dismayed. Are we going to see a significant drop-off in the number of people like yourself? Are your Temu days of exploring the Temu website coming to an end?
I mean, the only thing I ever get off Temu is stuff that I can't get locally, or that the equivalent isn't available. So, I mean, if I'm buying a T-shirt, I'm not going to buy a T-shirt on Temu. I'm going to go to the local shop and buy it there, because pricing, it's not madly different. You can get incredibly cheap things, but they're incredibly cheap for a reason. They're low quality, you know what I mean? And the other issue, again, then with electronics and so on, is the fact that they're not compliant with EU regulations. So the stories of people's phone chargers catching fire and all this kind of stuff and things they bought online being dodgy, that's the kind of the benefit of this, is that maybe for something like that, you will pay the extra €2 to buy it locally, because it's €3 extra to import it from China.
Yeah, and I suppose, Margaret, that'd be one of the reasons, the many reasons you would say people should shop locally and support local Indigenous businesses. But I've no doubt these new EU customs rules, there'll be some local retailers who might be breaking out the Prosecco and clinking the glasses together.
I'd like to tell you that the cost of doing business is such in this country at the moment. It isn't Prosecco they'll be reaching for, Alan. So,
baby sham.
Yeah, maybe the baby sham, because I think that that's the one thing about businesses in Ireland at the moment, the regulation that they have to abide by, the cost of labour in this country, the benefits that you have to give your staff, which are all things that are right and proper. But compare that to how we might perceive labour, people working the labour market in China might be treated, for example. I think you're talking about worlds apart. So, we have noticed, I'm not trying to be like to kind of dampen, young people's enthusiasm for shopping online and Shein and Temu, whatever they're doing. They're going to continue to do that. I don't think this is going to end the shopping online for cheap things, but I think it's the beginning of introducing a level playing field, or I hope it is. And, I think it will be a little bit fairer for people. A lot of our own businesses, as you know, have invested in an online presence. They've had to. And when people talk about the cost of doing business, it's in the now. We're talking about energy costs, the costs of, the minimum wage going up. But when you think about the cumulative cost over the last 5 years for businesses that are staying ahead, or the businesses that have invested in technology, they're the businesses that have, it's not an online brochure, it's a working online website. website, and everything is in the round. And you know, I would even notice it because I work in the town centre myself, and you know, you see retailers, like if we have a meeting late in the evening or something, and you come out of the building, you see retailers coming out at the same time. You know, there's so much work to do after the shop closes.
It's an all-consuming role.
All-consuming.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing their social media at night time, they're updating their website, their stock, whatever else. So I think this will be a bit of a level playing field. I gathered a few stats. Now, there's one particular, I won't bore you to death, but every 5 years we get a market report on how much is being spent online by Irish people. So in 2019 it was 2.2 billion. 5 years later, 2024, 6.7 billion. Estimated to be 8 billion by 2029. We're one of the highest users of online shopping in Europe.
And only 2% of that was spent by Pat.
Exactly. Temu, probably not even that. But also, you know, I was watching something on Instagram a few months ago and it really struck me. It was the day that the UL students were at the races in Limerick, and there was like a vox pop and an online piece talking to them about their fashion. Where did you buy your dress? I got this in Shein, I got that in Shein, I got my top in Shein, the handbag is my mother's, blah blah blah. And then somebody came along and said, oh, thank you, I got this dress in a boutique in Ennis. And I was like, hooray.
The lone voice in the wilderness.
You know, but the interviewer never said what boutique or where.
Yeah,
and I was like, I was digging around for ages. I did find out afterwards it was Brass in Ennis, and I thought, fair play to you, Brass. But
okay,
you know,
but we could be seeing a bit more of that as a result of these.
We could be seeing
rules.
a bit more, and that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, you know, if one student could afford to go to Brass to buy a dress to look special going to the races, I'm sure a few others could dig around in the pocket as well.
Well, let's hope so. Pat, I'm sure the likes of Temu and Shein won't be, I haven't heard if they've commented on this. I don't think they'd be too discommoded given the worldwide reach they have, or maybe they will, given it's it's the 27 member block. Do you expect this to have a significant impact on their business?
Well, I think you might find that some of the really like stickers or something like that you might buy, you might find there's less of that because the corresponding price will go up. But I mean, like I said, all I ever used it for stuff that I couldn't source in Ireland, things that I can't get here or aren't available here. So it's not going to really affect me massively because, I mean, you know, it's bits and bobs. I would just wait and do a bunch of them together and go, right, it's going to cost me an extra tenner. So it's not the end of the world. But I definitely think that some people will start to kind of go, oh, well, you know, maybe I need to look around more locally and see if it's going to affect us. I think the thing that people need to be very careful of is the way that it's listed in your order. Because if you buy a Spider-Man t-shirt and a Batman t-shirt and a Superman t-shirt and it goes in as 3 separate items, that's 9. But if it's 3 t-shirts, that's 3. So I think they'll probably tweak the way they list things so that they won't detail out on that it's 3 different t-shirts. It'll just be t-shirt by 3. So I think that's one of the only thing they could really do to kind of make that easier for us. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's €3 per item. Could you buy it locally? Is it cheaper to do that? If it becomes cheaper, then why would you not be supporting the local business? And like I said, a lot of people buy loads of things on it. Some people only buy little things that they can't get here. So I think if you still want to pick up something that you can't find locally, you're still going to order, but it's going to cost you a bit more. But I mean, hopefully it will drive a bit more business back to the local environment as well, because at the end of the day, we should all be supporting local business as much as we can. So again, like when I'm getting stuff, it's just things I can't get here. So that's the only time I would ever use it.
In terms of returns, is that another area that could become more complicated as a result of these rules? What should shoppers know before they click buy?
Yeah, the main issue with that is that you don't get the charge back. So if you, I mean, I'll give you a little story. Like, how many of us have been stuck in the post office behind somebody returning 27 different dresses to Shein, and you're going, for the love of God, let me in the queue. Whereas now you won't get the €3 back. So if you pay €30 extra on your order and you return it, you don't get that back. Now, some of the vendors may give you the return at their end, but the revenue will not return the money that you paid, even if you return the item. So that's another thing to bear in mind as well.
Okay, and again, Margaret, I'm sure local businesses will be won't be disappointed in hearing that. Do you think this is going to have a noticeable impact on shopping habits, or are consumers now so accustomed to online shopping that the change will be limited, or as Pat says, will they change more to the customs rules will mean that they will be like him, they'll only get things that they literally can't get in Clare, or that they'll buy those online, they won't be buying t-shirts and things that they could get locally?
I think it'll be a mix. I think people are sort of, people who are shopping online, and it's how they do their shopping, it'll take a long time for them to wean themselves off that, or to look at what's available locally. So I think I don't expect it to be a dramatic difference, but it might make people think a bit more about where they're buying things, maybe, and why these regulations were brought in. And I hope to God that Revenue do something good with the money they're making.
Hopefully so. Just before we finish, Pat, a question in from a listener, Thomas, who's listening in Kilkee, who's asking, will this new charge affect parcels from family in the UK?
I think if it's listed as a present or a non-commercial package, I think, and again, I'm not an expert on that, but I don't believe that that's subject to the import duty. It's company to it's when it comes from a company. I think that's what it is. But you do have to declare the value of your package. So I'm assuming if you keep it under the 150, you'll probably be okay. Now, if it's coming from the UK, it might apply because, again, they would be considered outside the EU. I'm not 100% certain on how that rule works with VAT, but that would be the same way it's always been, though. That there's no exception on that. But again, I wouldn't expect it to be applicable because it's not a commercial purchase; it's a present. Yeah. So as long as you declare it on the label as a gift, you should be okay. They still always ask you in the post office what's the value, and if it's under 150, you're fine. So I don't know whether this will also apply to that. As far as I understand, it's for commercial purchases.
Okay, and you wanted to say something on that, Margaret?
Yeah, I believe it's about buying online. That's what it's limited to. It's not about gifts. Yeah.
Okay, that'll be good news for Thomas. My thanks to both of you for joining me on the show this morning. Pat, always appreciate your knowledge on these matters, and thanks as well to Margaret O'Brien, the CEO of Ennis Chamber. Margaret, we'll let you head off and start purchasing the baby sham for the local businesses.
Or the bottle of sparkling Ballygowan, probably. Yeah,
I suppose during work hours we want to keep our noses clean. My thanks to Margaret O'Brien and to Pat Clarke Browne for joining me in Morning Focus.